turn off the cruise control. It's time to press forward.
Hello, overcomers. Welcome back to another episode of Two Sisters on a Journey. Wandah Parenti and Tina Hightower-Garrett, a Divine Healing Journey podcast. Gosh, I know you guys are thinking, where have you been? And we certainly have missed you all too. So thank you for bearing with us and hanging out with us on our, I'll call it a little pit stop or rest stop.
Yeah, I think a rest stop is
right?
more appropriate.
Okay, well, we're ready to pick back up right where we left off and keep on writing.
Yes.
So today we have a special young guest who's very near and dear to my heart. His name is Thomas Singh.
Hello.
And
Thomas.
Thank you for having me.
we have an amazing episode, number 13, Battlefield of the Mind. Our topic for today is get out of your head. So, I know it kind of leaves you wondering, what are they going to talk about
Get
today?
out of your head.
Well, sit back, buckle up your seatbelts, and enjoy this ride.
Get ready to ride. So first we're going to let Thomas kind of give us a little snippet about himself. And
Yeah, happy to. So I'm a high school student. I go to school in Wandah, so I'm not too far from here. I'm a student athlete. I run cross country and track, something I have a lot of pride for. I've done it for 4 years. I'm a team captain. I'm really proud of that, and it's taught me a lot. And I'm coming into my senior year, so I'm just looking to get into things like this and figure out how I can leave my impact personally as a leader, as a just person on this earth, right?
Wonderful.
Yeah. Awesome.
Wonderful. That's
Yeah.
really good.
that's awesome. And particularly coming from someone your age.
Yeah.
That is awesome because that's what we need.
Yeah.
We need some trendsetters.
Yeah.
Right? We do. We need the future. That's why we're here with you, to just kind of pick your brain.
Exactly. You are the future.
You are our future.
You and your kind.
Yes.
That's
So,
right. That's right.
And I will just say that I met Thomas, I think you were a freshman.
I was, yes.
A freshman. We were the very beginning of the pandemic.
Yep. Yeah.
And Thomas actually reached out to a senior community that I was working in at the time. And he wanted to know what he could do to give back,
Amazing.
to help impact the lives of seniors. And I was blown away, because this was a student, a 14-year-old or 14, 15-year-old student who wanted to know what he could do. And so we put our heads together, and what he did for the seniors just was incredible. He put together a team of other students to call the seniors on a weekly basis, like 2 to 3 times a week, and literally have a conversation with them, because he knew that the seniors could not get out to see their families, and their families could not come into communities. So these young children, led by their leader,
I love it.
Thomas and Pierre, were calling, and I have to tell you, you have no idea the impact you had on their lives and their day. It was just, they were looking forward to it. And I almost hate it, because I moved on, I left. I hated to leave them because they were so looking forward, and I was so afraid that passing of the baton might not, keep it rolling. But you went on, I introduced you to and connected you to other communities, and he continued.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
That's amazing. I remember you telling me about him.
Yeah.
I met this young man, and he's just awesome. You can't even believe what he's doing with the seniors. And it's like, she really spoke highly of you
I
about
appreciate
that.
it. And really it was like, I'd reached out to a lot of different, people, and, a lot of different people from a lot of different senior homes, putting in great effort. But it was you in particular, you were very gung-ho about it, and, what can I do? And that's above and beyond. So
Well, thank you.
Wow.
it's not, it takes 2 people, right? It takes an army of people to do it.
Yeah.
And to have like a group of people, like I said, I'm really passionate about my team and cross country being leader on that team. To have a group of like quality people
remember you telling me that you wanted to go to West Point.
Yes.
Is that still?
So no, and this is all COVID, right? So but it's like a beautiful journey. Like I'm doing something like that, but it's just totally different. So I decided I wanted to run at West Point, and I found out junior year, so last year, same time, I found out I had a stress fracture in my femur.
Oh.
So I was out for the season, and definitely like roller coaster for me, right? I mean, I think mentally, like, it's crazy. I had just gotten back from COVID. Sophomore year, like, I was a straight A student. My grades were slipping with COVID and everything. Everything was kind of out of whack, right?
Yeah.
And you know, with relationships slipping, and it's crazy. It was even hard to keep up, you know, the senior thing and just everything. You know, you're kind of scrambling, right?
Yeah.
And that injury happened, and that was kind of the, you know, that was like, okay, something I need to kind of really think about what I want for me, because I think that, you know, okay, college sports may not happen. You know, am I sure about college? Am I really, because I'm someone, I love to work. It's funny, my dad's side of the family, they're all blue collar farmers, mechanics, all different things like that. So, and I'm really attracted to those things, doing that honest work. So I realized for myself, I was like, you know what, I don't know if I want to go to college yet. I don't know if I want to go to the academy, but I want to give back.
Oh, wow.
So I came back over Christmas break, and I reached out to an Army recruiter, and I said, look, I want to join the Army, and I want to go right there. I'm interested in education, but I think I need maybe a 3-year contract just to kind of give back, just that my sole focus is just giving back and just challenging myself. And then I can really be sure, because I also didn't want to go to school and not know what I wanted to do and be undeclared and all that kind of stuff, right? I just wanted to get in and start working and start giving back. So I did that, and that really just changed everything for me, I think. But in a good way. Like, I really, like, I've seen life completely different. I think I've grown up I've moved, I lived in Canada, I lived in New Jersey, I've lived here. But all those times I've lived in bubbles, right? And there's been one straight path, and it's been, you know, you graduate high school with 4.0, you go to college, and, you know, you go and work. My dad is in business, you know, my mom is a teacher, and both extremely intelligent, wonderful people. But I just don't think that was for me. You know, I needed something different. And that really, like, it just changed it for me. You know, I'm sitting in high school, and I'm doing things that I'm really interested in, like auto shop, and doing things that I'm, you know, and I'm able to, and I'm really excited. I just actually signed a preliminary contract with the Army to be a helicopter pilot.
This is a
Or a helicopter mechanic, and go on the path to be a pilot, hopefully.
Wow.
So I'm really excited. So I'm gonna start as a I'm gonna start as the Apache mechanic, and then if I decide, you know, down the road, I'd like to maybe go in that path, or I can stay as a mechanic, whatever. But I might get chosen to do that. So that's kind of the path that I'm looking down. But that's something that I think I really want to do. And then it's a 6-year contract, so 6 years down, if I want to go back to school or, you know, whatever, I'll figure it out. But right now, that's where I'm at.
Sounds like you will figure it out.
So
Exactly, yeah.
amazing.
You will figure it
That is
out.
so
Yeah.
well, congratulations.
Yes,
I'm so
because
happy to hear
that's
that.
nice to hear.
And, but I'm not surprised because you have a servant's heart. So,
That's right. That's right.
So we're going to put a pin in that, and we're going to have Tina read our devotional.
Which is
Go ahead.
Battlefield of the Mind. And we're just picking your brain because I love it. I just love where you're going with this. Definitely. Normally we do the devotional first, but we got so intrigued in what you were saying. We just
Sorry about that.
No. We were like, keep going. It's like I almost forgot. I was like, put the book down. We don't need the devotional. We just need to hear what Thomas is doing. But
We're very organic.
Yeah.
here, so,
We are,
we just let the Holy Spirit lead
Just
us.
work us.
So, perfect.
So this devotional is called Battlefield of the Mind, and it comes from 2 Corinthians 10:5. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Do you sometimes feel like your thoughts take you to a place where you don't want to go? Well, you're not alone. This happens to all of us. The Bible says, take captive to every thought to make it obedient to Christ. This means to gain control over what we think about. In other words, we have to hold those negative thoughts hostage. We have to fight. Is there something that you're battling with in your mind today? A great scripture to read is, I know what it means to lack, and I know what it means to experience overwhelming abundance. For I'm trained in the secret of overcoming all things, whether in fullness or in hunger. And I find that the strength of Christ's explosive power infuses me to conquer every difficulty. And that's from Philippians 4:12-13. When thoughts occur that are negative, we have to pull out our swords. For the word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates even to divide soul and spirit, joints and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. Hebrews 4:12. Satan can't read minds. Since Satan is not divine, he is not omniscient. Only God knows your thoughts before you think them. However, the enemy will fool you to make you think that he can read your mind. He's the father of lies. Satan also wants to take from you and destroy your peace. But we can fight back the way Jesus did. When Jesus was tempted by Satan, he used scripture to counter him each time. He knew that Satan couldn't win against the ultimate truth of God's word. If Jesus, the Son of God, used scriptures to fight temptation, we can do the same in our thought lives. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened and do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. And that's Joshua 1:9. Joshua won the battle in his mind before he defeated the land of Canaan. The spies that went before him were defeated in their minds because they saw giants. Joshua saw grasshoppers. How are we positioning our thoughts? What do you see when the battle time comes? Are we letting disappointments or fears to influence our thoughts? For the Spirit of God gave us, does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. And that's 2 Timothy 1-7. And I love that. Joshua won the battle in his mind before he defeated the land of Canaan. And I think we can all kind of, back to get out of your head.
Absolutely.
Get out of your head, right? But it's here.
I think that if we could get out of our head, well, there's nothing that could stop us.
That's right.
We'd be
That's right.
unstoppable, unmovable, unshakable, right?
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. So we're here today talking about the battlefield of the mind and getting out of your head. So you and I met at the beginning of the pandemic. So I'm always saying, and even my husband, he eventually made a movie about, it's called The 2020 Kid, right?
That was
what's called?
awesome. Yeah, that's what it was.
It's
Yeah,
The 2020
yeah.
Kid, and it's all about the day, a day in the life of a kid, of a child during 2020, and that's how it happened to be our then
How old was he?
12?
12 at the time.
years old,
Yeah.
our 12-year-old son. What it was like for him, and we hardly think about what it was like for the children. We were thinking about toilet paper and
Yeah.
food, and not being able to go out of the house and things like that. We weren't really focused on the children. Crazy enough, well, I don't like that word. Oddly enough, when we came back, when we got back into school and back into work and back into the flow of things, we found out that the children were seriously affected.
And that's not a big surprise either. You think about it too, it's like, how did we not? Right?
Exactly,
Right,
right?
right.
Think about it, right? It's like, how
Right.
did we not?
Yeah.
And sorry,
No.
No.
I think it's interesting because I talk about this with even my buddies all the time. I kind of in a way laugh at it because I think about because I remember it was like toilet paper, right?
Yeah.
It was like, I remember I read this and I was just so, actually, personally I was angered about it. There was a couple, I believe it was in Vancouver, it was somewhere in Canada, I believe, and they had bought up all the stores of hand sanitizer and they were reselling it for higher prices during the beginning of the pandemic because people were freaking out. And the thing that, obviously I just think it's immoral to do something like that.
Yes.
But, it's just as simple as that. But I think what I realized was, even even friends of ours, they'd be going to the grocery store, they'd be stocking their cabinets with things that they wouldn't even need, right?
Right.
And you think about it, it's like we didn't actually have to do that, It was actually we were dividing ourselves more than the pandemic itself was, right?
Wow.
If you think about it, right?
No, you're right.
You're absolutely right.
The pandemic actually wasn't taking away our food.
Yeah.
It wasn't taking away toilet paper. It wasn't. We were doing that, right?
Wow.
We created the problem.
Exactly. We made the problem bigger than it had to be.
Yeah.
And that just shows, like, I think that is a learning for us, and I hope that's what I hope. And I was talking to my aunt about this a month ago. I was like, it's almost life ebbs and flows, right? There's times when it's you're in a period of what we talk about this in church, right? You're in a period, a season, right?
Right.
And I feel like I had a realization that I had like finished a season, right? When things started, summer started, and things were kind of opening up. I was like, but I hope that we learn from the season previous, right? I hope that we learn and do better, because that's going to happen again. It's going to happen in another form, right?
Absolutely.
So are we going to be better than we were? Are we going to be closer to God than we were, right? And that's what I hope.
What did you do during that season? Just kind of, what did you do? Because I can't even imagine being isolated away from my friends, even though I know you had your phone, it's just not the same. It was a long time ago, but when I was in school, that was part of my social life.
Yeah.
Right? So how did you handle that part?
To be honest with you, it was something. For me, it's like I don't have anything else to compare it to, right? So when I think of high school, you feel like it went by really fast, right? Like I'm an adult now, so it's like crazy that I'm an adult now, right? Like it feels like, but at the same time, like at that point, we were just trying to almost just get through with
Okay.
like the running, right? Like our season got shut down, right?
Right.
School is shut down, and you're just trying to get through with things. You're trying to like do things with some sort of semblance of normalcy, norm, right? And just to try and do things as they were normally was a struggle, right? Because you've got all these restrictions, you've got all these
Right.
But I think the hardest part though was the fear, right?
Okay.
It's just you're scared, right? You don't know, what is my life gonna look like in 10 years, right? Is this something
Exactly.
are we gonna be this disconnected for years to come? Thank God that wasn't the case. But yeah, I think that was like the main thing. I think because you're in so much fear. So like when people were talking about, we're not getting that social connection, we're not like, it's something even more primitive than that. It was just, you were just scared, right? You just didn't know what was gonna happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, talking about fear, how did the fear affect, or did it affect? Because you're a scholar. I mean, you're a very smart young man. How did that affect your grades and the way that you were learning and processing and moving about?
Yeah. So I'm, I think in that season I've learned so much about myself because of that season. And that's where, we can go into this later, but there was a lot of good things almost that came out of it, right? But, in that moment, like, I think that I was in a process of learning. So, it's funny, I wasn't the most, like, gifted academically necessarily, like, in terms of math and all this, spelling and all that stuff when I was a kid, but I worked really, really hard, right? I wanted to make sure in middle school I worked really, really hard. Freshman year, straight A's. Sophomore year, I went in, and then COVID hit, and everything slipped, right? You're not really, there's no routine, right? There's no, you're going to bed at whatever time because you're like, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to school in the morning, so I can get up by 10, right? So your discipline slips, right? And we're all human, so, that's what happens, so it's like, I think, and then you're fearing, and that's where, went into college and stuff like that, like, oh my God, my grades are slipping, but yet, I don't know what to do about it, right? And now, oh my gosh, this is going to affect my college, and this is going to affect my future, and is this one moment in this 1 year where everything is slipping for everybody, is this going to define the rest of my life? Right? And now I have the retrospective and to know that isn't true.
Yeah, but during the time, it was real.
During the time, it's everything is. I like to say everything was almost magnified.
Okay.
Like every little thing seemed like a big thing. Right?
Yeah.
Even touching a doorknob, right? You're like, it's so
come on, that's the truth.
Right.
No, it's like, am I
Are you gonna get COVID?
Am I gonna touch the doorknob? Do I need to go get my gloves on? Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So everything is just blown up, and I think that was like that for everybody, right?
Yes,
but,
it was.
But you're also in your own head, and I think that's where I wish I had. It was funny because I'll go into this as well, but after the pandemic, I found God again, and such a beautiful thing, obviously, but. I didn't have God during that time. Well, I didn't have my relationship with God. It wasn't as strong during that time, and I wish it was, because I would have been able to see past, like, you know, you know Jesus saw past any disease and any, right?
Right,
and I would have been able to take from those lessons and see past that
Yes.
better than I did, right?
Right.
And so but you know, we all tried our best, and the team, we tried our best to come together with what we did with you, and we tried our best, right?
But you know what what I'm hearing, you knew who he was. You didn't have a relationship with him like you do now.
Yeah.
But I feel, you tell me this, do you think that intensified your relationship with him? Your gratitude towards him, knowing that he was with you all along, even when you maybe didn't have that
Well, now it did,
intimate.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
yeah,
And
right?
that's I mean, I look back on it all and I see, you know, it's funny because I talked to my cousin who is very involved with religion, and he actually converted. He was his mother, who's my dad's aunt, was a Hindu, I believe, and he decided got married and decided I want to be a Christian, and he is very devout, very disciplined with it, and I speak to him a lot about it because I had questions, and
Right.
and I was talking to him about this season that I went through. I was like, why did this happen to me? Why did my injury happen? Why did my grades slip? I was even questioning my devotion to the sport, right? Like, why am I questioning? You know, I love this sport so much. And he said, is God testing me? And he said, well, God is not doing harm. God didn't break your leg. You know, there's other forces at work, but and then I realized, I said, you know, well, what God is doing is whatever healing happens from that, that's what God is doing.
Wow.
Right? Whatever progress happens from that, that's God.
Wow.
Right? That's God. So that gives me a lot more. So coming back to the fear, if I had known that whatever healing was going to happen, God was for sure going to heal us and bring us closer to Him, there would have been less fear. But now that I know that, and now that I know that from that experience, because you know everybody was broken, the world was broken,
Yes.
and God healed it. You kind of know that, okay, God will always be there. God will always be there. Even in bad seasons, you're going to come out of that season, because seasons always change. There's no status quo. There's no such thing as that, right? And God will be there. So, yeah.
What would you say, and I totally agree with you, to say that person, because we're not totally out of the pandemic. I mean, we're still in it, you know. So a lot of people are kind of stuck in the middle. They're still have that fear. What would you say to maybe a student, a young person, a youth that's listening or watching, to them that still they haven't quite found their way through this? Can you give them some type of direction or advice on that?
Well, I'm somebody, you know, I feel like I gain strength from people, right? And I think and that's what the thing it was almost paradoxical what the pandemic did, because we were trying to gain strength, but we were kept away from people, right?
Wow.
Powerful.
And, so I think as a young person, you need to be surrounded by quality people. I am so blessed, and I say this all the time. I'm so blessed to have the group of young men that I do around me that run with me. You know, straight A students, humble, athletic. You know, we were ranked nationally last week.
Wow!
And
Congratulations.
thank you. I'm so blessed to be a part of that and be a part of
Yes.
that group, because they push me to be better, and push me, and I wouldn't have gotten. You know, I had gotten an injury. I wasn't sure if I'm on TV yet, and they pulled me back and they said, no, we want you here. And I said, and I realized, I said, you know, I'm going to be a leader for this team. I'm going to be better. And yeah, so it's emotional for me, because it's beautiful. But that I'm so blessed to have that.
Yes.
And I would encourage younger people to work in their lives, because God will provide that for you. God is going to provide that for you, and it's always there. You just find the right people, find
That's good,
that group
Thomas.
that is going to pull you
Thomas, that's
when
good.
you need it, right? I think
That's
it's
so good.
important. Yeah.
Because you having that injury, if you didn't have people to pull you, and obviously you have a wonderful family too,
of course.
but the friends, you could have back in to get out of
Yeah.
our own head.
Yeah.
You could have stayed in that place, that
Exactly.
injury, because
Exactly.
the injury is also here.
Exactly.
Before it is physical, right?
Absolutely.
If you didn't have the power and the fight to move forward and the willpower, and you realize it was a season, and to have someone around you, and first of all, God, but you know, have the
God
support.
was there, the church was there when I needed it, and then they were there. And I think, and it not only did it, like, and it's reciprocated, right? Because then I become, we were able to step up, because when you think about it, we lost, like, our team, we're very, very leadership oriented. Training from freshman year, you're trained how to be a leader on this team, and we lost 2 years.
Yeah,
So, but
wow.
really, but we were able to look at it this year and say, we came together, and I don't want to just talk.
Yeah, you can. No,
Yeah.
you're
All
here to
right.
talk. Please.
Because I just have so many messages that I learned this year.
to
that
hear
I-
this.
that I-
No,
that I wanna
please
share.
do. Please share.
There was, so this year we went. I'd been coming out of injury, and we went to and actually other people were dealing with injuries, and our number one runner was kind of coming out of a season of injuries as well, and we went. Some of us, he wasn't able to come, but some of us went to this camp at you guys in Humboldt, at the state, the Humboldt State, and we do this running camp, and you stay in the dorms with the boys team, the girls team stays in their dorms, and you guys are able to really bond. And we found, the last 2 years, the leadership, the seniors those years, it was interesting. There was a lot of, the leadership wasn't there. There wasn't any connection, and the year of COVID, kind of understandable, right? You've got all these 17, 18-year-olds. You're telling them to lead, and it's like we're getting on irregular practices, and it doesn't work out right. They're frustrated. They're trying to figure out school and everything. But then last year, when I was a junior and we had seniors, there was no discipline. There was no, but even greater than that, there was no love, right? There was none of that love on the team, right? You didn't really feel that. There was a lot of just disconnect, and if you're a varsity runner, you're here, and everybody else is down here, right? And that is right. God, that is not. That's just not Christian.
No, it's not.
and yeah, right.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that, and you see those pull that those seniors have on you when you're a junior, right? You kind of, especially if you're one of the faster runners, you kind of just edge on that side, right? And you're missing all the quality people that are just as important and just as important for that team. That's what we preach on this team. It's really, it's not about the fastest runners, because the faster runners are being pushed by the people that are not as fast, and the people that are not as fast are being pushed by the people that are faster. It's mutual. You need that. So we didn't have that. So this year we went to Humboldt, and it was kind of the seniors. There was a few of us up there, and we said, you know what? And there was a group of coaches that did a seminar, and that seminar spoke to me. I had a moment with God during that seminar when those coaches were talking about, like, just empathy, and just my coach did a talk, and he said, so there's, just to give background, there's 7 runners on varsity, and that 7th spot is usually interchangeable because people are trying to make that varsity team, but his message was, don't run to be the 7th, run to matter. Run to matter. And I that message was so beautiful to me, right? Because how can you really matter, right? How do you matter? And it's so much greater than just running times and getting good grades. It's so much greater than that, and I think it happened for us. We sat down that night and we talked for hours. We said, at first the senior said, for once we just listened. Finally, we just said, you know what, younger kids, just talk to us. Tell us how you felt. Right? How did you feel? Right? And I think this had been in the making. Like we were always all quality people, and I think it was just we now had that space to lead in our way and do it our way. And so finally we said, you know what, enough's enough. Let's break this down and build it back up. Right? So we said, let's just talk about this. And they told us all this. We didn't feel like we could communicate with you. All this. And after that trip. And our number one runner, he didn't get to go because he was in Kenya learning from the runners over there.
Oh, wow.
And he brought back so many messages from them too about teamwork, and it was beautiful. So there was work being done everywhere. And we came back, and I can't tell you. I told so many people. I talked to so many people about it. I was like, this is God. This is God.
Wow.
This is God. The way that we connected, and I saw people in totally different ways, and better ways, and and how they can improve me as a person, and how I can improve them as people, and it was just so mutual. And what they don't realize is the whole varsity team has had so many younger kids come up to us and say, thank you for doing what you guys did. Thank you. We just feel so much more comfortable now, and we love it. We're having so much fun. And that was my favorite part of the summer and all this. And we tell them, look, like you think that we're doing stuff for you, you guys did for us.
Wow.
You know, what you feel that we did for you, you guys did that for us, right? You guys made us better. You know, you guys inspired us. So, you know, it's not, don't thank us. This is a moment for our team, you know?
That is just...
See what happens when you get out of your head?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right?
And you
That's
listen,
what
and
happens.
you know, our preacher talked a lot about, you know, you can't be a teacher if you haven't once been a student.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So,
That's
you know,
right.
we were students to these younger kids,
Right,
right?
right.
These, you know, 16, 14-year-olds just talking to us, right? And
Wow.
it made us better.
Exactly. I always say the best leaders are students.
That's
Yeah.
correct. That's correct.
Exactly.
Because you're still willing to learn.
Exactly.
You're learning
Being
constantly,
open
right?
to learn things.
Absolutely.
I remember once you and I we were talking about because we were talking about my friend Miles Hall, and mental illness, and you were sharing that you have dealt with your own anxiety.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah, and it's more, what I was speaking to you about was more people in my family. So we definitely have family members that, and just dealing with that. And I think that family is complicated.
Oh, yeah.
family.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Oh,
and it's,
yeah.
and it's like, you know, and I think that learning how to not love conditionally, not love where it feels like it's a burden, and love every aspect is really important.
Unconditionally.
And yeah, it really is unconditional. And I think that I've learned that from a young age, dealing with, you know, there's people in my family who, you know, have had mental illness, and not even just mental illness, but like a lot, like family, like I said, it's very complicated. A lot goes on. And, you know, I think that learning to get past faults and be open to, hey, let's build a relationship is so important.
And acceptance.
Yeah.
Acceptance, right? To accept.
Exactly.
Acceptance.
And if you can do that with people that you're with pretty much 24/7, you can do that with anybody.
So true, so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
What's the old saying? You can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's the truth.
100%. And there's so many, and you know, saying that light, and like I said earlier, I have a wonderful family, but you know, everybody's family, right?
Come
and
on.
It's funny because like I was talking to my friend's dad, and who's a mentor to me. Then our number one runner who went to Kenya, his father, a mentor, like a second family. When I was injured, open arms, house was always open. I would recover. We did the elliptical. They would let me exercise at their house, eat dinners with them, all sorts of things like that, just to feel more connected, right? Because you're away from the team. But you know, I was talking to him about it once, and what he said, and it's just so true. It's just like, you know, what you're going through, it's so valid and true. But just remember, like, everybody has their faults, and everybody's family is going through it. right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and everybody's learning in this time how to cope, especially because you're together so much
Yeah,
more.
That's right.
exactly.
That's
I was
right.
just
That's
gonna
right.
say
That's
you're
right.
home
Yeah.
with
Everybody's learning,
everybody now.
and it's a norm, right?
Yes,
Because
it is.
people phrase it like mental health, especially as like a not a norm. And you know, for me, looking at it on the outside, you're like, oh, maybe it's not normal, but
It's
it
a norm.
is.
It's a norm.
It is a norm.
It's a norm.
right? It's a norm. So
yeah.
just because it's not normal to me or to somebody else, it's a norm for that person,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? So understanding that, okay, it's just learning. It's learning.
That's just
right?
what it
Yeah.
You
is.
gotta listen.
Yeah.
We have to, and I think in our families, and I'm just thinking even from my point of view and my grandchildren and children, it's our expectations of our children and our grandchildren and what have you. And when we can back up and away from that, we still have to have a certain amount of expectations.
Yeah.
But it can't be, I wanted to be a ballet dancer.
Mhm.
So I'm going to make sure that you're a ballet
you are.
dancer.
Yeah.
You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we do, you know, those type, right?
Exactly, and that was like my next question, because I know you were talking about how, you know, the path that's
Yeah.
laid out there for you, not that you were those are your interests or your desires, but it's just laid out there for you.
Yeah.
I had it in my household.
Same
You know,
here.
you finish high school, you go straight to college, and the things, all the things, right?
Yeah.
And then I actually tried to lay that path out for my kids because that's what I was
Right,
taught
that's
to
right,
do.
that's what we were taught.
Right, but then I learned.
You have to unlearn.
I had
Yeah, you have to
right.
There it
unlearn.
is.
I had to
Yeah, you have to
unlearn
unlearn.
that
Yep.
and learn
Yeah.
something completely
Absolutely.
different. And,
Yep.
and I'm continuing to learn because I still have
Yes.
a 14-year-old, you know. So, and he's
And he's going through it,
he,
right? He's
yeah,
going through it.
that's right.
you know, and he
Yeah.
says things to me like, I'm thinking, because I think I really learned it with my daughter, that just like God has a plan for me, had a plan for me, or has a plan for me, right? He has a plan for each and every one of my children, and he really taught me with my daughter. It's like, hey, pump your brakes. I have a plan for you,
Yep.
and I also have a plan for her. And he removed those old lenses and gave me different lenses to see that everybody's path is not going to be the same, and it doesn't mean that one is better than the next.
That's right.
We are all his children, and we're all different.
Yeah.
So
Right?
true.
It's
So
it's
true.
so true. And I think that, you know, the more that we are able to, I think it's so important because discipline is so important, right? And having standards, right, are so important. Moral, physical, you know, mental, everything, right? It's so important to have standards, but we for some reason narrow those standards in on certain things, and I don't
Yes,
understand.
we
I don't
do.
understand, like, you know, you can look at because it's funny because my dad is somebody who is worked his butt off and decided, look, I want to, you know, live this kind of life. I can't stand when people say I want to live the higher life, because there is what
What's
is
the
the
higher-
higher
what's
life?
the higher
The only
life?
higher life is closer to God.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
Say
There's
that
no,
again.
There's no
That's it.
Right.
higher money or influence or power. There's nothing that isn't the higher necessarily the higher life. But my dad decided to go in that direction, whereas my uncle, who is working on the farm and, you know, gets up at, you know, 1 a.m. on the summers to go to the food terminal and pick up, one of the hardest working people I know, just as hard working as my father.
Yes.
Right? May not make the same money, you know, may not have the same influence. In fact, I'd actually argue he does, because he knows everybody in that community. They
Right, there
trust
you go.
him,
There you go.
right?
Yeah.
And-
Keyword trust.
And personally, I'm more attracted to that life in ways, and there's certain aspects of my dad's life that I think is important as well. But there isn't a, you know, because they both hold themselves to standards.
That's right.
Right? They both accomplish things. They both there's things that are important. They have goals, right? So one isn't better than the other,
Exactly.
right? And I think that understanding that is really important, right? Versus just this or that.
Right, putting it in a box
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and saying this is how you have to do it. But I think what's most important, do you enjoy doing what you're doing?
Exactly.
Right? Are you happy in what you're doing, instead of like back to, I'm going to make you a ballerina dancer because I wasn't. That's not what that person wants to do.
Right,
So what do you
right.
like? What is your passion?
Yeah.
Would you like say? What would you say to say an adult that's just pushing that child or
Yeah.
that young adult or to do this and I want you to do that? Is there another way that maybe they could approach that person or that young adult, particularly
Yeah.
right now, just coming, well, we haven't come out of it, but going through it, because this is a new norm. This is a new norm and this isn't going away, right? So to help that parent or that guardian or that grandma, or because we're just thinking that we're doing our kid or whatever
Yeah.
a favor, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to not only, you have to look within yourself when you're in that position, and you have to look at what's important to them, and you have to kind of boil it down to,
That's good.
is there something that's important to me that's also important to them, right? A core value,
That's
right?
good.
And where does that intersect,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that way you can find some semblance and some connection. So that way when they're giving you a goal, it's not just like, so, okay, I want you to go to Harvard, and okay, you want to go to a state school. What do you want your career to be, right? And is there some direction from that state school that you can hit that career, and that's something that I'll be okay with, right? And
Yeah.
something that you can learn to be okay with. And that's a good way to do it. I think that, you know, that would be a good scenario. There's some scenarios where it just completely divides. And in that scenario, I would say
I think it's kind of cliche, but you need to really look within yourself and say, I was in this position once, right? And maybe I didn't have an option, but I worked to give my child this option. So why shouldn't they have that option?
That's right. A choice.
Right? You worked.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that as a parent, that should be the sole goal and purpose is to give your child choices. Right?
That's what I Heavenly
So,
Father does for
yeah.
us.
That's what I was just getting ready to say.
Exactly.
He gives
gives
us
us
choices.
choices.
Gives you choices.
Yeah, so what I had to learn to do with my daughter, thank
Yeah.
you, Iffy, is I had to learn, and I learned some things, right? But I had to learn to manage my expectation.
Absolutely.
Oh,
I had to learn
Say
to
that
manage
again.
my own expectations.
manage your expectations.
Yes. We're so good. We've become so good at managing other people's
Yeah.
expectation. But we have to learn to manage our own.
And understanding that you choose a different path, find why that's so great, right? Figure out why that's so great, because it's great. You're just not seeing it yet,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
if they want to be a mechanic, understand that. Watch them do what they do. They're helping people every day, right? They're doing something that we need people to do, right?
Exactly.
Are they giving to people?
Right.
Are they doing it at the highest level, or with the highest purpose, right? And in terms of level, I don't mean money or influence or power. I mean,
Yeah.
are you doing it through God? Are you
That's
doing
right.
it through a place of kindness, right?
Mhm.
Are you trying to cheat people out of their money? Because that's something that I would be disappointed about. But if you're doing it out of a good place, and upholding your family and upholding yourself, what's wrong with that?
Exactly.
Love it.
That is so amazing. Out of the mouth of your babe to us.
Yeah.
Out of the mouth of babes,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
And that's what I love about this is I'm an adult, full grown adult with grandchildren, but I open myself up to learn from,
Oh, I love
Our
learning
youth.
from the youth.
you know?
Now my granddaughter sometimes, and she'll have to listen to this. Sometimes it's a little too much. TMI. But I still leave the door open because I want her to know that she can come to me, and I'm learning. Like
And
Wanda
they're
said, and I'm
being and they're being honest, open, and transparent.
100%.
You know, and yes, sometimes it's a little bit too much, but we take it.
We
you
just-
know?
it's good when
Yeah.
it's on the phone because I can go.
Yeah.
In person, I have to kind of put on the phone. Like, are you
Yeah.
there? Yeah, I'm still here.
100%,
You know, but I
100%.
wouldn't trade it
Yeah,
for anything.
yeah,
You
yeah.
guys, like we were saying, you guys are our tomorrow, and that's why we wanted you to be here because we want to see life through your eyes, through your group, through your peers. We know because we have grandchildren, we have older children, but it's just so. Gosh, it's just so enjoyable, and it's
Yeah.
breathtaking to see it through your eyes, and it gives us more, like you were saying before, of youth, the 14-year-olds that were looking up to you guys, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing for us.
Yeah.
You know, we look at you guys. You're our tomorrow, and I love how you said it's. You don't have to be. You didn't say it in this term, but a scientist. If being a mechanic, or if that's your passion, if that's what you're still helping people, and I love that whole philosophy.
Absolutely, because no matter what we're doing or what our children choose to do, we do it all to the glory
That's
of
right.
God.
Are we
Yes.
honoring Him?
Yeah.
Are
We
we
do
honoring
it
Him?
all, whether you're a doctor, a surgeon in the operating room, or like you said, you are a mechanic, or you know, a shopping or grocery store clerk.
That's right.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing,
Right.
do it to the glory
That's
of
right.
God.
And I think
That's right.
another thing that's just so important is that he has a path, right? And you guys have mentioned that. And sometimes people have difficulty giving into that path. Me personally, I've had difficulty myself. Everybody does, right? Because you may have a dream or something that just seems right, but really isn't, right? And you really have to give in to the path sometimes. Like, I'll give you a great example. I wanted to run to West Point. I really did. And I realized, I got injured, and I realized, you know what? That wasn't God's doing, but I'm just gonna fall down the path. I'm just gonna fall into the path. And I, push came to shove, and I realized I might want to come back and coach, right? I might want to come back and coach athletics in any, like, I'm not sure what way, shape, or form, but in some form. So instead of being the competitor, maybe I'm the coach, right? And that's just something that I've realized I'm actually really passionate about, and I could be really good at. But that's to me is in a way, and that just feels right? So in a way, that's me just like giving into the path and realizing, because I could have fought tooth and nail and tried to keep trying to be one of the athletes and be one of the college runners, but maybe that's just not where I am. I put in all the work. I did everything I had to do, but maybe that's just not what I'm meant to be doing. There's a greater purpose for me, right?
Keyword, greater purpose.
Yeah.
And from that,
Yeah.
you saw another path,
Exactly.
right? Another destiny, another path that you may not have seen before,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's good that you saw it, though.
Yeah.
A lot of people who were just laid back and thought, oh my God.
But that's God. That's
Yeah,
God,
that's
right?
it.
That's God, right? Like I decided to, I made the initial decision to open up to God, and I mean that was God's path, right? And at this time, in this moment, it was my time. At that moment, it was my time to open up and make that choice. So I made the choice, and He's just put it into place for me, and I'm gonna do what I can, right?
Because He sets
Go
out
after
a
it.
future for us too,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
I know the plans I have, you know,
Yeah.
a future to prosper you.
Yeah.
And so maybe not now, but later, you now saw something, a different path that you wouldn't have normally gone down
Yeah.
had you not had that injury.
Yep.
I mean, unless just go there,
Exactly,
you know, it's
exactly.
amazing what comes out of injuries and
Yeah,
harm.
exactly. It's healing. And
Uh-huh.
then healing. You
Exactly.
actually, it's funny because I kind of look at it this way: like when your bone heals, it actually heals stronger.
Mhm.
So in a way, you're healing and you're becoming greater, right? You're becoming better than you were. So I think it's just interesting that way.
And it sounds like you got out of your own head.
Yeah.
You did some battling in the mind for sure. You had to, right?
Yeah,
But you
absolutely.
came out on the other
Yeah,
side.
you come out on the other side. As long as you give in to God, right?
That's
I gave
right.
in. I
That's
gave
right.
in.
You did.
So
yeah.
what would you say to other youth?
Mhm.
You know, because we've all been going through the pandemic. We've all been in this together, and it has affected everyone differently. Like I said, we know that with some of our youth, there was a lot of anxiety and a lot of panic. There was a lot of depression, and now, you know, we think we're headed out of it, hopefully. But on the other side of it, we'll say that.
Right. That's a good way
And
to put it.
and what would you say to help them get out of their head, to ease the panic, or
Of the uncertainty, like
yeah.
what's ahead.
and
Yeah.
the depression?
Yeah.
What
So
would you say
when I
to
give
them?
these answers, I could put it in terms of religion and God, but if I'm speaking to general, I try to make it even more general, right? So I would honestly just boil it down to you have to, if it feels like it's if you're trying to go after something, because that's where it all comes from, really, all the anxiety and all that. You're trying to get something that it's not working, right? Because you think once I get it, everything will be okay, right? And you're not getting it, or you're getting these things that's just it's not working. But if something you really have, it all comes from within, right? If something isn't right, if something isn't taking you down, if you're just progressing further and further into a more negative spiral, you need to change direction, right? And even if it feels different,
Uncomfortable?
or odd, or uncomfortable,
Our favorite word.
exactly, you need to do it. You need to at least explore it, right? What if I had never explored the idea of, what if on the first day of practice and running, I thought it was too hard and I didn't come back,
Yeah.
right? I wouldn't have been in the position to lead this team that I was. What if I never called that recruiter? What if, right?
Right,
But I
exactly.
decided to explore that different avenue, even though there was people telling me no, but I decided to do it, and I'm in a better place because of it. So, yeah, it may seem uncomfortable, it may seem odd, but you kind of have to get out of your head and just do it.
And running is not easy.
No,
Trust
it's
me,
not.
I've tried it. I mean, I can remember it. I'm not going to elaborate on it. Just trying to run the first mile.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I got to 5, and to
Was
me
that
that
in
was a
middle
big
school?
deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you
I got
run
to-
your miles
No,
in
and I
middle
was
school?
older. I mean, this was like, as an older person, and I'm like
Yeah.
challenging, and I'm like, how do people do it? But I have a total respect for
thank
a
you.
runner.
Yeah.
Because that first minute, everyone even said, because the person that was really kind of like coming
Yeah.
alongside me, he said everyone feels that way the first minute.
Yeah.
He said it's that first minute, getting past that first minute. Isn't
Yeah.
that life too?
Yeah.
That getting past that.
Running, and that's why it's one of the reasons I love running so much, and athletics in general. It's an analogy for life. I was telling someone because we were kind of, to be completely honest, as a varsity boys team, we've been kind of unhappy with certain. We have incredible coaches, but we've been unhappy with certain coaching things that they've been doing. And I was kind of talking to somebody about just coaching in general. I was like breaking it down because I feel like there's something fundamentally wrong with what we're doing, and how we're being coached. But I was telling them, I was like, athletics is a beautiful thing because you can channel it into a lesson, right? And as a coach, that's why it's such an incredible role to be in, because you have that responsibility and that ability to take, young minds or anybody really, and turn something that happens in athletics and create a lesson out of it.
Absolutely.
And help them understand it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then they can in turn do that for somebody else.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And I think that's why I love it, because but running is just such a
That's amazing.
a bare bones, it's struggle, right?
Yeah.
You learn to overcome it through
Yeah.
the community,
Push.
through
You
yourself,
have to push through.
and it's not a coincidence that all the guys on this team that I know, I mean, there's 60 kids on the team and half, so about there's 30 boys on this team, varsity JV, Frosh, freshman and sophomore. It's not a coincidence that they're all quality people. It's not a coincidence.
No.
It's
intentional.
You build those people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And God builds those people. Running builds those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
Making every moment a teachable
A
moment.
teachable moment.
And also just being open to the idea of changing directions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid of it. Embrace it. Lean into it.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, wow.
Yeah.
Well,
Gosh.
you're an incredible young man.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, and we can't
really
wait
are.
to see. I just want this magnifying. I want to just kind of look and see where's Thomas going. Because by the way, too, at Miles is his
Walk a mile for
Walk a
miles.
Mile. Your speech was phenomenal.
Thank you.
It was so inspirational, and it was just so nice to see someone
Yeah.
your age
Yeah.
to just stand so tall and just speak with such strength and oh my goodness and conviction and
That's great.
courage
Yes. Thank you.
and courage.
And I mean, well, I was given that platform by you guys, so that's just a piece
Amazing.
of the puzzle, really. To have you guys allow that for that platform, that's just as important.
Just a blessing.
Yeah.
Wow. And I will say to us older folks, just be open and make yourself available to
That's right.
our young people. They have so much to give us, so much to say. We can learn, we can glean so much
so
from them, and they are the future.
That's so good.
And we need to protect, respect, and protect our future.
Absolutely. And to add to that, not go back to, because I used to do it and I don't do it anymore because it didn't work. Oh, we used to do it this way. When I was your age, we did it that way. And no, this is a new time. And let's learn from our youth so that we can grow together, because that's what's going to give us longevity.
Yeah.
Honestly, because you guys I keep saying it over and over, our future. And we can't go back to what happened for me in the 60s and the 70s. It's over.
Yeah.
This is a different time. Yes, I feel that we can bring something to the table together
Right.
and make it whole and make it solid and come together.
So, what I am taking away is we need to get out of our heads.
That's it. Number one.
And we need to see it first in our mind. We need to see the future. These young people.
That's right.
Their ideas. They're very innovative
And
and
put our pride to the
creative,
side.
and see it in our minds, right?
That's right.
Before we see it.
Our thoughts.
Stop thinking about the giants.
That's
and
right. See the grasshoppers.
see the grasshopper.
That's right. Like Joshua did.
Exactly.
That's right.
Right. Well, thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
It's been a joy, definitely, as usual.
And you've just taught us so much too. Just thank you for just being transparent and sharing,
Absolutely. It's
and
really my pleasure.
just from your heart and
Yeah.
just the empathy that you have for others, and you're just gonna go places.
So what's the call for the army? I know there's hoorah, hoorah. What is
I'm
it?
not, there's so
One.
many.
Do you know what it
What do you
is?
say?
It could be hoorah, it could be hoorah. I don't know. I'll know when I get there for
Okay,
basic. That's
all
for
right,
sure.
all right.
I'll know
Well,
when
we're
I
not
get
gonna mess it up today,
Yeah.
We want to hear it the next
Don't be
time.
drilling it into me when I'm
Oh,
there.
we
while
want
I'm
to, and
there.
just remember us too, because we want to be a part of that
Absolutely.
journey with
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
Honestly
No, yeah.
speaking, we do. We want to be a
Thank
part
you,
of that
thank you.
journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your parents,
Yes,
they've done an
yes,
awesome
Yeah,
job.
they do.
absolutely.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
For sure, for sure.
Oh, and thank you again. And as always, we always like to end with a prayer that comes from our Divine Healing Journey, Let Jesus Be Your Guide devotional book. I'd like to give a little shout out to that. Lord, we pray today that we do not wrestle with our thoughts. Instead, let's continue to trust God. Don't give up because you can't see the victory. The battle was won on the cross. The victory is ours. In Jesus' name, Amen.
Amen. Awesome. Until next time.
Till we meet again.
Destination Destiny.